Welcome back. In court news, 35-year-old Jamaican national Michael Sterling of St. Albans Drive stood before Magistrate Carolyn Vogt Evans, charged with one count of rape. According to reports, on September 11th, the incident occurred at a business establishment located in the northwestern district of New Providence, where the defendant allegedly forced himself on a 20-year-old female. No bail was set, and Sterling is set to return to court on January 25th, 2024 for a voluntary bill of indictment. In a separate matter, 25-year-old Nathan Roll of Richland Park has been charged with one count of possession of an unlicensed firearm, one count of possession of ammunition, one count of damage, and one count of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life, along with 4 counts of bail violation. According to reports, on September 11th, Roll was found with a black Glock Austria pistol and 10 rounds of .45 ammunition. Prosecutors also alleged that the firearm was for the intent to endanger the life of Michael Solomon. Roll is set to return to court November 23rd to be served a voluntary bill of indictment. In crime news, police here in the capital are aggressively searching for 3 suspects responsible for a damage by gunshot incident in the Gamble Heights area off Blue Hill Road South. According to information, sometime around 1:16 this morning, 1:16 a.m., a 22-year-old male victim was sitting in front of his home in a 2015 Nissan Note when he was approached by 3 males in dark clothing wearing ski masks armed with a firearm. The suspects discharged gunshots in his direction, causing damage to the vehicle. The assailants left the area in a northern direction on foot, making good their escape. In other crime news, police are questioning 3 adults in an attempt to disrupt a fraudulent licensing disc ring. 2 males, 40 and 48 years old, and a 41-year-old female are being questioned in connection with the preparation and distribution of fraudulent license discs on behalf of the Road Traffic Department. Initial reports indicating that on Tuesday, shortly before 6 p.m., officers conducted a stop and search of a Nissan Bluebird vehicle while in the area of Meadow Street and Hospital Lane, that's in the Bain and Grantstown area, or the Bainstown area. Upon inspecting the vehicle, it was discovered that the license disc appeared to be fraudulent, leading to the arrest of the female driver. An investigation led the officers to make further checks with the controller of the Road Traffic Department, who confirmed that the discs were indeed fraudulent. Police received additional information resulting in the arrest of 2 male adults believed to be involved in a fraudulent license disc network. Now, police are advising the general public that anybody found conducting or engaging in fraudulent activities will be subject to prosecution according to the Road Traffic Act. The POP reeks of victimization. That is a quote by former leader of the Democratic National Alliance, Brownville McCartney, when addressing a shakeup at the Ministry of Immigration and the alleged mishandling of Acting Director of Immigration, Keturah Ferguson. There are reports that Mrs. Ferguson is to be placed on leave and forced into an early retirement. Well, Mr. McCartney says if this is true, the acting director has a good legal ground as a next course of action. The former state minister for immigration is crying shame on the government as he says this type of behavior is common with the PLP.
Well, I would imagine she would have good legal recourse in the circumstances. As to whether or not she moves in that vein, that's totally up to her. But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it stinks of victimization. Let me put it like that, plain and simple. Stinks of victimization. And the PLP should know better. They should know better because they're known for that previously, and they went ahead and did something that reeks of victimization. That's not right. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Mr. McCartney, who served as Minister of State for Immigration in the Ingram administration, praised Mrs. Ferguson for her work in the ministry when he was the minister.
That stinks. I've had the good fortune to work with Keturah when I was at immigration, and found her to be an excellent civil servant in the department. Someone who was well equipped, who knew her job. And as a matter of fact, I mean, when I went there as a minister, she helped guide me, we all have this concern or thought when you become a minister of a particular ministry, you're the expert. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. I wasn't an expert in immigration, although I did some of it in my law practice. But I had to be guided. I wasn't an expert. She was a person who guided the situation. With her being asked to resign or step down or retire, whatever it is, it stinks. And that, I don't think that bodes well for the government.
Now, as a practicing attorney at law, Mr. McCartney also defended former Minister of Immigration and Labor Keith Bell after he was heavily criticized for granting citizenship to a foreign woman and her children at a funeral. He contends Minister Bell operated within the law.
There was a lot of talk about Minister Bell and some of the actions taken by him. But the actions from a legal point of view fell within his purview. It may have been out of the ordinary, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was wrong. There was a lot of talk about citizenship and that sort of thing. Well, the minister has the right to swear someone in. It doesn't necessarily say where. And in order for the minister to swear someone or to give citizenship, he must have had the approval of cabinet.
That was former leader of the Democratic National Alliance, Granville McCartney. This past weekend, there was the release of results of a public survey purportedly by the University of the Bahamas, asking residents to grade the Davis administration on their performance after 2 years in office. The results of the survey were not favorable. Chairman Mitchell, who is also the Minister of Foreign Affairs and currently in New York with Prime Minister Davis on official business, sought to dismiss the results of the survey, which were shared widely on social media over the weekend. He described the survey as fake while blaming the official opposition Free National Movement and the Coalition of Independents.
On Friday last, I warned PLPs about passing around lies and sleaze from a publication by F&M propagandist online called The Bahamian Punch. But over the weekend they tried a new tack. An aide in my office on Saturday past sent me a survey called 2-Year Bahamas Performance Survey. Then when I read the questions, poor grammar, couldn't spell my name right, and leading questions which no self-respecting polling operation would circulate, much less the University of the Bahamas under whose name it was said to have been published. It is almost certainly authored by that vile combination of F&M trolls and coalition of idiot spin masters. The University of the Bahamas president, Janine Hodder, immediately denounced the so-called survey, saying that it was poorly written and not up to the UB standards which require the attribution of an author, the methodology, and an address so the survey can be questioned, and none of that applied to this phony document.
Chairman Mitchell says the results of the poll are grossly inaccurate and intentionally misleading. He leaned on a recent poll by Public Domain to get what he says is a true temperature of how the country feels about the Davis administration 2 years into the term.
It claims that Michael Pintard is wildly popular and says that Hubert Minnis should not attempt a comeback, but tries to sully the PLP. This phony poll was meant to sully the scientific poll by Public Domain, authored by Mwali Raming and published in the National Guardian on the 11th of September. He said they called 589 random persons and asked them did they approve of the Prime Minister's performance and the government's performance. The PN's performance, 42% said somewhat approved, 23% said they strongly approved. The press then combined that to say 65% approved. As for the government, 43 said they somewhat approved and 21 said they strongly approved. That makes 64% approval. So that's a real poll, not nonsense published by the F&M and CRI. But let me add that polls are not determinative. They're a snapshot of what happens on a particular day. They are indicative. They are not a reason to rest on our laurels.
That was PLP Chairman and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Fred Mitchell. And finally, a monumental moment for the agricultural sector in the Bahamas as the inaugural Agrarian Awards 2023 was held Saturday night at the Margaritaville Resort, where farmers from around the entire country were honored and awarded in recognition for their endeavors in agriculture. The new Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, Jomo Campbell, was the keynote speaker.
These Agrarian Awards are intended to serve as encouragement to the nominees, finalists, and winners, and showcase the transformative impact that networks and partnerships can have on the future of agriculture. In doing so, we hope to inspire others, especially young people and women, to explore and embrace the agriculture industry. Since assuming office, this administration has documented and demonstrated its commitment to the advancement of food security in our country. In the last budget communication, the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance said, and I quote, "The government has implemented various programs to strengthen food security over the medium term. Going forward, we will continue to increase food security and maintain capital expenditure in agriculture."
Prime Minister Philip Davis, who was attending the G77 Plus China Summit in Cuba on Saturday, left a pre-recorded address for the honorees.
This event is a testament to our commitment to supporting and recognizing the invaluable contributions of our farmers and agricultural communities. These awards have been established to honor those who not only till the soil, but also sow the seeds of progress and change. Our farmers are more than just cultivators. They are nation builders, laying the foundation for sustainable food production. It is through their work that we will take progressive steps toward feeding ourselves. Today, we come together to acknowledge their tireless efforts, their passion for the soil, and their resilience in the face of challenges. Agriculture is not just a job. It is a pillar of our economy. Our farmers have been at the forefront of advancing food security and economic diversification, tirelessly working to feed our nation and drive our growth.
Receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award was veteran and legend in the agricultural sector, Diane Lady Di Cartwright from Eleuthera. She's also a Thompson, Cartwright Thompson, who has more than 50 years' experience in the agricultural sector. Known for her famous pineapples, Lady Di also received a check for $10,000. Our Jcn News team caught up with the legend, who spoke about receiving the award.
Child, listen here and tell God, take me, I'm going to grow my pineapples. You know, I grow other things, but when you see June come in, that's my time. That's my money time. You understand? And if the government give you a chance to do something, do it. And show them that you appreciate it, not hide the seeds in the cupboard and you never sow the seeds and stuff like that. No. So the government give you a tool, you use it. All right. It's hard to say that I appreciate what I win and I could close the hole. But how I run my farm, I takes out what I need to use first, and then I'll do what I need to do with the rest. But I never cut my field short, like run out of fertilizer, run out of Miracle Grow, run out of anything in the farm. No, I get that straight for it. I take care of that baby first, and then I move on to something else.
The Agrarian Awards distributed over $50,000 to farmers throughout the Bahamas in recognition of their contribution towards national food security, categories including School of the Year, Community Farm of the Year, Backyard Farm of the Year, and the Male and Female Farmers of the Year. And that'll do it for your Jcn Evening News. Once again, I'm Jcn Saunders. Thank you for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.